The woman opened the door and found a black wall outside her home, and all the windows were also blocked. Even the mobile phone signal was cut off. The couple was shocked, but they couldn't break through the wall no matter what. The drill bit was almost worn out. The surface of the wall remained as smooth as ever. The worst thing was that the tap water at home had also stopped. Both husband and wife were elite office workers. There was no food in the refrigerator. Can they escape from this terrifying confined space? What is happening in the world outside the wall? It all started a day ago. Tim is a game designer. He and his wife Olivia have been married for many years. They were originally about to welcome a new life. Unexpectedly, the wife had a difficult delivery. The doctors did their best but failed to save the fetus. However, this disaster has been over for a long time. Tim only occasionally thinks back to how he felt at that time. The couple walked out of the apartment and saw black smoke not far away. The landlord told them that there was a fire in Hamburg Harbor. Related news was everywhere. Olivia found an opportunity to inform her husband. She had quit her current job. Olivia wants to leave this city, forget the past and start over. But Tim can't leave his work behind. This game has cost him a lot of effort. As soon as he finished speaking, a work call came in. This proposal had to be put on hold for the time being. Olivia was distressed all night. She finally decided to go to France alone. Tim wondered what that meant. Could it be that you're leaving me? Olivia didn't say another word, opened the door and got ready to leave. Suddenly, a solid, tech-filled black wall appeared behind the door, and several windows were also blocked by such walls. Worst of all, even the signal and network were cut off. In this way, the two of them were trapped in the apartment. Olivia is an architect. She had never seen such wall material before. Even an electric drill couldn't damage it. On the contrary, the drill bit was severely worn. Tim avoided the black wall and tried to drill through the ordinary wall, but soon hit a barrier. The entire corridor should be sealed off. The two drilled holes in various walls for testing, and found that the surrounding area was all blocked. No one could break up the entire building in one night. Just then, they heard a sound coming from behind the painting. Olivia hurriedly drilled through the wall, and saw the tenant living next door. They looked terrified and were probably also trapped by the black brick wall. It seemed that Tim and his wife were not alone. It seemed that the entire building and all the residents were sealed off. The most critical thing was that the room had run out of water. There was only a little stock at home. Olivia gradually lost her calm and was also shrouded in fear, because this apartment was under maintenance. From the outside, it was completely covered by a construction protective film. That means others might not notice anything unusual about the building. They might die here. The more Olivia thought about it, the angrier she became. If only Tim hadn't refused to leave that lousy game behind, they would have left here yesterday. The argument between the two grew more and more intense. Tim picked up his phone and smashed it against the wall. After both of them calmed down, he suddenly noticed that the magnet that fell out of the phone was stuck to the black wall. This thing is magnetic. Olivia immediately took out metal knives, forks, and a keychain. They tested and found 4 points with the strongest magnetic fields. Each point was a square brick. Tim speculated that there might be a way to interact with this wall. Upon hearing this, Olivia concentrated all the metal on these 4 points. The next second, they actually started vibrating violently. Tim was the first to sense that something was wrong. He hurriedly stepped forward and tackled Olivia, and those knives, forks, and keys shot toward the ground like bullets. Tim got quite a few cuts on his back. Olivia quickly helped him deal with the wound, and clean the iron pieces on his back. In the evening, the two shared a bag of potato chips to barely replenish some energy. They could only hope that the next day, when they opened their eyes, this wall would disappear. As soon as the words were spoken, a fierce quarrel came from next door. That young couple didn't know what had happened. After a few screams, there was suddenly no sound. Worried that they were in trouble, the two simply broke a hole in the wall. They shouted for a long time but got no response. Tim simply took a bat for self-defense, and carefully crawled through to the next door to check. They soon found a few sporadic spots of blood on the carpet. Walking further in, they saw the hostess lying beside the bed. Olivia helped the hostess out to bandage her wound. Tim was about to follow. Unexpectedly, the host rushed over and pressed him to the ground. At the critical moment, Olivia sprayed a large amount of pepper spray at him. The man covered his eyes and screamed. Tim swung the bat and hit him. The hostess rushed over and stood in front of him. She quickly explained that she had tried to hit the wall and accidentally injured him. The blood on the ground was the host's. It turned out that both of them had taken hallucinogens. They were not conscious now, so they didn't explain clearly in the first place. Tim and Olivia took these unreliable couples to their room to look after them. They finally had time to exchange names. The young couple's names were Anna and Marvin respectively. The two planned to get married next year. Tim searched around the house next door. He broke open the warehouse door that the landlord had forbidden to open. He looked everywhere for something that could help everyone get out. Upon hearing this, Olivia joined in the search, but she only found a large hammer. It couldn't break through that black wall. Olivia thought they should start with the floor. because there was a basement beneath the ground floor of the first floor. This house was built before the turn of the century in 1897. A bomb shelter was specially added during World War II. These bomb shelters were connected to the subway system as loan. As they entered the basement, there was a possibility of escaping the building, so the couple started to break the floor. They soon made a big hole. Mr. Oswald lived downstairs. The two shouted for a long time but got no response from him. Tim had to tie bed sheets into a rope and climb downstairs first to check the situation. Olivia was about to hand him the bat for self-defense. Mr. Oswald appeared with a pistol. He ordered Tim to leave here immediately. The old man thought these people were trying to rob him and his granddaughter of their supplies. Tim hurriedly explained, "We just want to get to the basement through your apartment to find an exit." Fortunately, his granddaughter Leah was a sensible person. She persuaded her grandfather to put down his weapon. Olivia and the other two also climbed down along the bed sheets to balance their strength. This time it was Marvin's turn to break the floor. While Tim was sitting aside resting, he saw a smoke detector pressed under the broken wooden board, and there was a pinhole camera stuffed inside it. Tim quickly asked Mr. Oswald, "Did you install this thing inside?" Oswald said that this detector was installed by someone the landlord had hired. He hadn't had anything to do with it. After hearing this, Tim ran to the kitchen and removed the detector from the ceiling. There was also a camera inside it. That meant the landlord was secretly monitoring them.
So Squid Game, Big Brother.
Olivia said, "Stop arguing. Why don't we just ask the landlord directly?" It turned out that the landlord lived next door to Mr. Oswald. They immediately smashed the wall. It was still Tim who first crawled through. Marvin, Olivia and the others followed closely. There were many strange animal models in the room. Marvin picked up an ancient knife ornament on the table for self-defense. They walked around but saw no one. Tim pushed open the slightly ajar bedroom door and saw the landlord sitting in a pool of blood. Both palms had been chopped off at the roots and were nowhere to be found. A few people with poor psychological endurance ran out of the bedroom to catch their breath. At the critical moment, they still had to rely on Tim. He picked up the landlord's phone and saw several photos of walls in the album. He had no idea what the significance of them was. Marvin returned to Oswald's house and frantically swung a hammer to hit the floor. He just wanted to get out of this hellish place quickly. Meanwhile, Olivia picked up a newspaper that was lying aside. She asked Tim, "Do you think the fire in Hamburg Harbor could be related to this incident?" This apartment building is simply a shoddy construction. The partition walls and floors are extremely thin, although a few people suffered some minor injuries. Fortunately, there was no serious harm. Leah put her grandfather's oxygen tank in her bag and prepared to take the old man down with her, no matter what happens. She will not abandon her family. After all 6 people landed, a bearded man named David appeared. He claimed to be a good friend of the house owner Anton. He came to stay in the apartment for a few days this time. After hearing that the main group was going to the basement to find an exit, David pointed out that they had completely missed the point. The outside world is full of chaos and pollution, so this high-tech wall must be a safety measure to protect us, an airtight fortress.
Okay, und die Beweise für deine Theorie hast du woher?
Guck dir den keine Nachricht.
This David looks like a cynical conspiracy theory enthusiast. In any case, Anton, the owner of this floor, was already dead in bed. David explained that it might be a disease like heart failure, because Anton had undergone a heart surgery. As soon as he got close to that black wall, he fainted for no reason. Tim remembered the malfunctioning mobile phone after getting close to the wall. He guessed it must be the special magnetic field of the black wall. It caused the pacemaker in Anton's body to malfunction, thus causing his sudden death. Tim and the others didn't want to waste time and started smashing the next floor. No matter whether the outside world is polluted or not, they have to escape to have a look first. They successfully reached the basement. Sure enough, they found the tunnel entrance hidden by debris behind several doors. Tim and his wife moved away the curtains and then used a hammer to smash the iron plates that fixed the tunnel door. David squatted near the hole and listened carefully to the sounds inside. After a moment, several angry roars came. David showed a proud smile. It turned out that the tunnel door was also blocked by a black wall. This thing actually extended all the way to 2 meters underground. Everyone lost their calm, and an indescribable terror gripped their throats. Marvin picked up the hammer and was about to hit the wall. Tim quickly stopped him. He was mainly afraid that he would damage the hammer. Oswald pointed a gun at Marvin to force the madman to calm down. Unexpectedly, Marvin grabbed Oswald's pistol and fired several shots at the black wall. The 5 bullets suddenly stopped. They were fixed about 10 centimeters away from the wall. Tim was the first to react and shouted, "Hurry up and get down." Poor Oswald didn't react as fast as the young people. He was directly hit in a vital part by the rebounded bullet. After a brief check, Tim knew he was beyond saving. Leah could only watch her grandfather pass away. Marvin was plagued by guilt because of this incident. When David saw them turn back, He continued to elaborate on his views. He firmly believed that this broken wall had functions like an air filtration system, it could protect everyone's safety. Anna also began to have wild thoughts. Maybe there's a reason we're trapped here, perhaps everyone has special common points. For example, I had a bicycle accident when I was 15, my heart stopped for 2 minutes. Has anyone else had a near-death experience? Leia has only seen others in a near-death state. Her mother died of cancer 2 years ago. Leia stayed by her mother's side until she died, and David suddenly said, I have killed someone. It turned out that he was a policeman. When it came to killing, Leia couldn't help but blame Marvin. If he hadn't fired randomly, her grandfather wouldn't have died. Marvin could only keep apologizing. He really didn't know that the bullet would rebound. David asked Olivia if she had any special experiences. Olivia, ignoring Tim's obstruction, told the story of her miscarriage. As soon as these words were said, Tim immediately exploded with anger. He accused his wife of talking about the child's death in front of outsiders, but Olivia retorted, we're almost dying here. If we don't talk about it now, when will we? During this period, she had actually been looking for an opportunity to talk to Tim about that disaster, but he always avoided talking about it. Even on the day of the miscarriage, as soon as Tim left the hospital, he went home and continued to tinker with that game. He never wanted to mention the dead child again.
Ich hab dich gebraucht. Du hast mich allein gelassen und dich rumgebaut und niemand kommt mehr an dich ran.
In fact, Tim had never forgotten the child's death. He even lived in pain every day. But if he didn't say it, how would Olivia know? That's how the estrangement between them accumulated. Tim forced himself to calm down, and thought that he should first figure out how to escape. He thought it would be best to search the landlord's apartment again. There might be documents or plans related to the renovation project. Moreover, the other party must have some purpose in installing monitoring in the detector. In addition, Leia pointed out that there were many drawings and calculations about the research on the black wall in Anton's room. There might be important clues in them. They split up into 2 groups. One group went to search the landlord's room. The other group carefully checked Anton's notes. Leia found a black business card in that pile of materials. On the back was written Epsilon Nano Defense. Olivia asked David if he had heard Anton mention this company. David explained that all he knew was that Anton was a programmer. He rarely talked about his work. Leia turned to rummage through the drawer and found a broken laptop. According to David, Anton got angry because he couldn't find a solution, and smashed the computer against the wall. There was also his broken mobile phone in the trash can nearby. Leia and Olivia checked each discarded paper ball one by one. They saw one of them with the word password written on it. Could it be that as long as they find the password, they can open this wall? At the same time, Tim rummaged through the landlord's house for a long time. He suddenly looked around. Tim didn't know if it was a psychological effect. He always felt that this room was smaller than the one upstairs. After Tim finished speaking, he knocked on the wall in front, and found that it was indeed hollow. There was probably a secret room inside. As soon as he finished speaking, Marvin found a remote control, but there were 10 password digits on it. They had to find the password to open the secret room. Among millions of combinations, Tim blew a small handful of flour onto the remote control. Fingerprints with skin oil would stick to the flour. In this way, they could see the number keys that the owner pressed most frequently. With this method, Tim narrowed it down to 4 numbers, and 24 combinations. Anna was very happy and prepared to call everyone over. Leia asked Olivia to go first while she stayed to continue studying the notes. After trying a few combinations, Tim successfully opened the door to the mysterious secret room. They entered carefully. They saw 3 computers on the table. They were all filled with surveillance footage of the tenants taken secretly. The landlord was a peeping Tom. Tim found the video from the day of the incident to see how the wall appeared. No one noticed that David had quietly left the secret room. It could be confirmed through the surveillance footage that the wall appeared out of thin air. It suddenly blocked the window within a few seconds. At the same time, Leia approached Anton, pulled down the scarf around his neck, and saw purple and blue strangle marks. It was obvious that Anton didn't die of heart failure. Tim also found this out through the surveillance. He was about to ask David why he was lying, but when he turned around, he found that David was gone. Marvin hurried out to look for him. Tim continued to look through the surveillance footage. In the footage, Anton walked out of the room holding a mobile phone. If you observed carefully, you would find that the light in the room suddenly became brighter.
Das ist das Licht aus dem Treppenhaus. Der hat es geschafft, die Wand zu öffnen.
Tim continued to watch. Unexpectedly, David suddenly came into the frame. He dragged Anton to the corridor and kept choking his neck. At this moment, Marvin, holding that antique knife for collection, returned to Anton's house. He saw David burning the drawings in the wastepaper basket. Marvin was about to ask, "What are you doing?" when he saw Leia lying unconscious under the bed.
Bist du krank, Mann? Du hast sie umgebracht!
Die Wand ist hier, uns zu beschützen.
At the critical moment, Tim picked up the pistol and ran back to Anton's room to save people, but by then, David had already taken Marvin hostage. Tim caught a glimpse of Leia's body by accident. In the moment he was distracted, David pounced to grab the pistol. David was about to strangle Tim to death. Marvin hurriedly got up, knocked him down, and picked up the pistol to aim at David. Olivia immediately stopped Marvin. "We can't kill David now. He might know the way to escape." Tim first knocked out this dangerous guy and then tied up his hands and feet. He opened David's bag to check. There was an old book inside with obvious traces of being read. The title was World War III, the U.S. China Game. It was densely filled with notes. They were all annotations like Control and Doomsday. David was definitely a radical conspiracy theorist. He felt that someone would hurt him every day. No wonder he didn't want to leave the apartment, and stopped everyone from looking for a way out. Leia must have made some discovery to be killed in such a tragic way. Olivia pointed out that under normal circumstances, the size and arrangement of the bricks used to build the wall should have been consistent, but the bricks of this black wall are of different sizes. The arrangement is also very messy. This kind of length sorting may be a kind of interval coding. Its composition is similar to Morse code, but it is much more complicated.
Anton hat sie irgendwie
Aber warum ausgerechnet er?
This wall was probably built by Epsilon Company. The address of the company was also written on the back of the business card. It was just on that street in Hamburg Harbor. Tim woke up the unconscious David and asked him the specific method Anton used to open the wall. However, David refused to speak even if he gambled with his life. Tim had to change the way of asking, "Did the fire in the port happen at Epsilon?" Upon hearing this, David's face changed suddenly, claiming that we were in a state of war. That wall is a defense system that can resist any form of attack weapons, no matter atomic, biological, or chemical weapons can damage this wall.
Warum hat versucht, hier rauszukommen?
David finally spoke, saying that Anton believed the system had malfunctioned due to the fire, but David thought this was an emergency. There must be a fight going on outside. That's why the defense system activated automatically. In short, the two argued fiercely, each sticking to their own opinion, until Anton ignored the advice and opened the black wall. That's when David killed him. Since David refused to speak, everyone had to go back to check the surveillance. In the footage, Anton was sitting in front of the computer writing code. He didn't move from his spot for hours. Tim is a game designer. He figured out that Anton must have created an app to open the wall, so when David found out, he deliberately smashed Anton's computer and phone. Tim found the broken phone, took off its case, and connected it to the computer. Only then did they discover that Anton hadn't cracked the interval code. It was an optical code that could be read by a mobile phone. Tim immediately transferred the app to Anna's phone, then he pointed it at the black wall at the door to scan. The app immediately recognized a square pattern. As long as these cursors were clicked, the flash on the back of the phone would turn on. The black wall, receiving the specific light stimulation, began to float and combine. It turned into a liquefied wall that could be passed through. Anna put her hand in and felt that it was warm behind the wall. It seemed like something was squirming. Marvin told Anna to pull her hand out quickly, but she found herself stuck. Everyone hurried over to pull Anna, but the wall held her tightly. The most terrifying thing was that the wall was solidifying. Anna was cut in half on the spot. No wonder the landlord had lost his hands. There were still photos of the black wall in the camera. He probably encountered the same situation. David laughed when he saw this. "It won't let us leave." Marvin, filled with anger, picked up the pistol and shot at David. Before Tim and the other could react, he committed suicide immediately. Now only Tim and his wife were left as survivors. They opened the app again, trying to change the order of the buttons. Olivia noticed that each button triggered a specific number of flashes. Pressing the first button resulted in 1 flash, the second had 4 flashes, then 6. This meant that as long as they opened the surveillance video, they could confirm the button order by observing the number of flashes. When Anton opened the wall, after the two found the pattern, they prepared to go back to verify it. David wasn't dead yet. He charged over with a machete. David knocked Tim unconscious with several successive headbutts. Olivia was so scared that she took several steps back, and stepped into a hole and fell down. At the critical moment, Tim rushed over and kicked David down the stairs. He jumped down after her, pulled Olivia up, and ran away. The two hid in the warehouse and braced themselves against the door. Tim told Olivia to open the wall. He himself blocked the door to hold David back. This time, the order was correct, and the black wall opened, but David refused to let Tim go. Tim had to tell Olivia to run first. David raised the machete in his hand. He couldn't help but close his eyes. However, the next second, Olivia swung a hammer and knocked David down. The two escaped the crisis, passed through the tunnel, and headed to the outside world. All buildings on the once bustling street were wrapped by this black wall. Tim started the car and prepared to leave here, and the car radio was reporting Epsilon Company had a serious accident caused by a fire. This caused the city's secret defense system to activate. A misunderstanding actually caused the entire city's people to be sealed off. The movie ends here. The setting of the Black Wall is quite interesting, and what exactly happened in the world outside the wall? This question can keep attracting the audience to watch. As for the process of escaping and solving the mystery, it was quite mediocre. This kind of movie is reminiscent of the famous Schrodinger's theory. The story is only attractive before the box is opened. Once the answer is revealed, it loses its charm. Such an interesting concept could actually be made more exciting.